Hey guys, welcome back to Dungeons 101 with Erica. Today we're going to be doing Castle Ravenloft. As we work through Castle Ravenloft today, we're going to focus on making sure that we complete the 5 achievements that are available. The Castle Ravenloft Just Completion, Ghost Stories, Night Terror, Pew Pew Pew, and Ravenloft. As we get started, we're just going to go running through up here, fight off these mobs that show up. There's 2 packs of them. Once those are cleared out, Strahd will come through riding up on his horse, and you want to make sure that you stay to the side of the map so that he doesn't run you over on his horse. You'll just fight these pack of enemies and then move on up to the gate, and you're already at the first boss. The first boss is actually the Sisters of Strahd. The Sisters of Strahd are 3 vampire sisters that are invulnerable and more powerful when they are close together. They must be separated from the mistforms in order to make them susceptible to attacks. To do so, a player must use the Tomb of Strahd to do this. One player should always volunteer to pick it up. It should be a DPS player that goes and works the tomb. She'll do a knockback and you will see a blue book appear in the center of the map. Simply walk over the blue book to pick it up. Once you've picked it up, your tray powers will transform and you will have a new set of powers available to use. Right trigger will grab onto the misformed sisters and you'll be able to pull them away from the active sister. If you find yourself doppelganged, you can use the X button to dispel the doppelgang. Once the sister is defeated, a portal of power will appear in the center of the room, and the DPS will all go need to kill that portal of power. You only have a very limited amount of time to kill that once you start hitting it, so you want to make sure that you have all of your encounters, and if you have lower DPS in the group, make sure you have a mount or daily or something available to use in that scenario as well. While you're fighting the sisters will go through some mechanics. They'll put these red pools on the ground. They will also put some red chains around a player and the boss. If the DPS attacks while these red chains are up, it will do damage to the player that is chained as opposed to the boss, so you don't want to do damage during that time. The last sister will also spawn in ads that need to be killed, these little swarms of ads. There's also a mechanic, it's a one-shot for the tank, it's a tank buster. If he receives 9 stacks of that little square in the debuff bar and he doesn't block the 10th stack, it will one-shot the tank. So they need to make sure that they are always paying attention to that and blocking those attacks when they occur. There's also a hypo mechanic that you will see during the sisters. When one person gets the hypo, in order to play that mechanic, all of the DPS just need to group up on the person with the hypo to keep them from dying while they have it. Now that we've defeated the sisters, we can continue to work our way into Castle Ravenloft. After defeating that first set of enemies, you can just skirt around the castle walls right there and avoid the next packs of enemies. You don't have to fight them. When you make your way inside, make sure that you let your tank go first and get the aggro on all of the enemies before the DPS run in, because they can kill you if they flank you and get combat advantage on you. One of the enemies that you will encounter multiple times during Castle Ravenloft is the Executioner. He will always mark a target and place one of those red triangles above their head. If you're looking at the Executioner as he approaches, he will stun you. If the Executioner reaches the target before he is killed, he will murder the target. During Ravenloft, if you enter in during nighttime in Barovia, you have a chance to encounter the Night Terror inside of Ravenloft. If you murder the Night Terror in there, you'll get an achievement for doing so. Ghost number 1 is also located just around the corner after you've entered into the Great Hall. As you prepare to enter the ballroom, you want to switch off any striker companions and put on an augment companion if you intend to go for the Ravenloft achievement and Lofty Raver title. The reason you want to do this is because you don't want your striker companions to kill any of the ghosts while you're waiting for the suits of armor to come down. Once you enter in here, you're just going to run around and run around and run around and run around some more. And just continue doing this for a little while until you see all 3 suits of armor come out onto the ballroom floor. Now that all 3 suits of armor are out, you can go ahead and kill all of the ghosts that were running around along with the suits of armor. Once you've completed that, you should obtain the title Lofty Raver and get the achievement Ravin Loft. Once you've completed the ballroom achievement, be sure to re-equip any striker companions that your build may have had before. We're now entering into the second boss, which is the Arcolith. The Arcolith is a giant suit of armor with a big old sword that Strahd controls. During the fight, the DPS will want to position themselves behind the Arcolith to avoid the wide arcs of the sword attacks. The tank plays a vital role in controlling this boss. When the Arcolith challenges the player with the aggro, he will stick his sword into the ground and pound his fists together. The player challenged cannot use stamina during this attack. If the attack is blocked or dodged, the Arcolith will instantly be set into a spin attack that will only stop if he runs into one of the 4 pillars around the room. If no stamina is used, the Arcolith will continue with his series of attacks, which includes empowering his sword and spreading red AoEs all over the floor wherever it contacts the floor. After a set amount of time has passed, the Arcolith will enter into the spin attack regardless, and he will need to be guided into one of the pillars. Continue following this cycle until the Arcolith is defeated. Once the Arcolith is defeated, you'll continue making your way through Castle Ravenloft. When you approach these doors right here, if you approach them too fast, there's a set of bats right there, and they kind of like pick on people and knock them back and knock them around. You want to travel throughout the areas, throughout the hallways, whenever you're approaching the executioners and stuff, looking down at the floor, because if you're looking up as well, you can get a stun on you. You'll fight this pack of hellhounds right here, and then you'll have a knight's challenge where these suits of armors will come down, and then you're going to fight the executioner one more time where he'll mark a certain player, and he'll need to be defeated before he reaches that player. Again, if you're looking at him, he will stun you, and you need to kill him before he gets to the marked player so that he doesn't kill that player. When you approach the chapel right here, the achievement for Pew 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 is obtained by killing every enemy in the darkness before you cleanse the chapel at the altar. So you want to just make sure that you aggro all of these enemies that you can, and don't go touch that yellow glowy altar until you make sure that all of the enemies right here are dead. Once those are dead, you should receive the Pew 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 achievement and also the title Knight's Bane. You can then cleanse at the altar right there and just use the holy symbol to purify it. The second ghost that you're looking for the Ghost Whisperer achievement is located at the back side of the chapel. So once you've defeated all of those enemies, be sure to run back to the back by the door and talk to that ghost so you can make sure that you pick up that second one. After you've purified the altar with the holy symbol, there's going to be an onslaught of werewolves that come jumping through the windows and in waves that you'll just sit up here and fight these werewolves until it's complete. Once it's completed, you'll just progress through the castle, going up all of the flights of stairs and fighting through the mobs. Once you reach this cutscene, you're introduced to the Sunsword. The Sunsword will stay without you throughout the fight from now on. Whoever picks up this Sunsword will have their tray transformed into this new set of powers. You will have a daily power that is very vital at the end of the fight, and you need to use it whenever you're fighting Strahd to save the group. You have Daybreak, which when you use your X power, it will refill your team's AP and give them their dailies back. You also have a dash and just a hard-hitting hit on your encounter power. You have 2 at-wills as well. One of them spins you around in a circle, and if you hold the button for too long while spinning, you just get really dizzy and your character stuns for a second. I generally, whenever I'm using the sword, only use the button to give my team their daily, and then I'll use the dash just to get myself somewhere quickly, and I'll use the B encounter power as well. I use the RT at will the most. I don't really use the spinny one just because if I start using it, then I'm like, oh, spin all around, and I get dizzy and I stun myself. There's one more pack of mobs right here at the top of the stairs before you reach the last and final ghost that is walking up the stairs. You want to make sure that you talk to that ghost, and once you talk to that ghost, the third and final one, you'll receive the Ghost Stories achievement and also the Ghost Whisperer title. Here at this last door is the entry to Strahd. The person with the sword before entering into the fight should always use their X button to give your team their daily. That way they all have a daily whenever you're going into the fight and can use it immediately. Each time the Strahd phases in and out, you should have your X button available to give your team their daily back as well. Strahd, he does a couple of different mechanics. He has a knockback whenever he picks his sword up and jumps. The main thing that you want to focus on whenever he's not there is following these candles that he places on the floor. You want to be opposite of where the candles are. So when the candles are all in the middle, you want to go to the edges. When the candles are all around the edges, you want to go to the middle. There is a hypo mechanic in this dungeon as well. It's a swarm of bats that it places on the player as well. You're technically supposed to group up on the bats so that the bites are split out amongst all players. It doesn't really do that much damage now to any player that has it, so it can be taken individually. When Strahd phases out, he will take one player below the map, and all players left above the map will need to go around and kill the doppelgangers of the players up there. Right before Strahd re-enters the room, the Sunsword will be available to pick up in the center of the room. The player that entered with the sword should maintain control of the sword throughout, using the powers to give the team their dailies and using the attacks to build up the Sunsword charge, shown on the right side of the screen. Each time one of the players is taken down below, they should just run around avoiding the attacks of the doppelgangers and the executioner if he summons down there. The player with the sword up top needs to be careful not to take any damage, because if you take damage, you lose charge from the Sunsword. And you want to try to keep your charge meter as full as possible for the very end of the fight. Once you reach this stage of the fight and the ground turns red, you need to jump until you're freely jumping. Strahd will then give a voice prompt that says, "Now raise me to the heavens." At this point, you will use your daily power of the sword so that you can form this protective bubble around everyone in your team while those thirsts go off and hit the team. You will go throughout the rest of the fight, the last 20% of the remaining health, dodging candles and just doing the damage of Strahd to get him down to 0% health. Once Strahd has been defeated, you can go to your chest and collect your loot. The key for this Castle Ravenloft can be found in the Barovia campaign. If you don't have currency, you can use a genie's gift as well to purchase the little bags that will give you the currency to be able to make the key. I hope everyone enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you all get some good loot.